This is Women for Gun Rights with your host, Amanda Suffecool, part of the DCProject.
So, hey folks, welcome to Women for Gun Rights. And I want to tell you that I have the greatest guest on tonight that is joining me. And you have seen her everywhere, or you should have seen her everywhere. And that would be, I'm not gonna draw this out too much, but let me tell you, there are so many things that she will fill you in on, things she's doing, things she should be doing, where she is, where she's going, and she is just killing it all over the place. And that is Robyn Sandovol, who is the executive director, is that it, of A Girl and a Gun based out of Texas?
Yep, that's right. I'm the executive director of A Girl and a Gun.
Okay. Well, thanks so much for joining us on Women for Gun Rights. I mean, and this is exactly, you are exactly the type of gal that we created this show for, talking about women who are doing things that are Second Amendment related, that are just out in the world doing it. Instead of sitting back saying somebody ought to do something, you are doing something, and it's pretty amazing.
Well, it's an important conversation to have, and that's definitely what I encourage everyone to do, is to make guns mainstream. I'm just a normal mom who loves to shoot and is proud to be a gun owner, and I love talking about it. I love inviting women to the range with me, and I hope everyone has that similar conversation, because together we can bring more people to the range, we can enlighten more people to the empowerment of firearms and to being their own first responders and being able to protect their families. There's just so much more to it.
There really is so much to it, and it's skills, but it's also, so it's knowledge, it's skills, it's attitude, but then it's a whole world that you will make friends, and you will do things. You will take training. You will have interactions. You will learn things from people all over the country, or right in your backyard, that help you gain skills. So let's start with, how did you get involved with guns? How did you get to be the executive director of A Girl and a Gun?
I was strongly anti-gun for most of my life. In fact, I was a vocal gun control advocate. I didn't even let my kids play with toy guns. I felt that society was too focused on violence, was too obsessed with video games and just all things violence. And so I really shunned away from that completely and was a vocal advocate for gun control. And it wasn't until I watched the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. The city was wrecked overnight. Overnight, American city became debilitated, and first responders were unable to respond, or in some cases unwilling to respond. There was just so much chaos, and families were left on their own. And there was a moment that changed my entire life. I watched a mother at the Superdome hand her two small children to strangers who were getting on a bus to Houston, and she said, "Please take them. I'll try to find you in a few days." And my heart broke for this mother. I thought, how desperate do you have to be? So I turned to my husband with tears in my eyes, and I said, what do I have to do that's never me? That no matter what happens, we can stay together as a family, we can hunker down, if we need to stay together. I said, I'm going to store peanut butter and tuna fish and water, and we're going to just stay together. If Hurricane Katrina hits Austin, Texas, we're just going to ride it out for 2 weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it takes to stay together. And he said, if people are that desperate, someone's going to kick in our door for our peanut butter and tuna fish. How am I going to stop them? And after arguing for gun control my whole life, I suddenly had no argument. It came down to less about what other people were doing to be prepared for these situations, and all that mattered to me was these three little people that were mine that I had to protect and take care of. And I was willing to do whatever it took. So that meant purchasing a firearm to protect them.
So you bought a gun, and
right. Right. So it turned out that at the time when we made this purchase, this was a really big deal for us. Mm-hmm. At the time, there was a firearms instructor here in Austin named Juliana Crowder, and she had this brilliant idea to have a girls' night out at the range. She was a firearms instructor, and she was an IDPA competitor, and she saw a lot of women, but they weren't taking interest in their own personal protection, or they weren't taking interest in competitive shooting sports. They would be there cheering along their significant other, but they would live on the sidelines of their lives. So she was trying to get more people involved, more women involved. And my husband learned of what she was doing, and this was way back in 2011 on Meetup, and he signed me up to go to a girls' night out at the range. He RSVP'd for me to go. And I don't know if I was more scared of going to a gun range or shooting the firearm or meeting other women. All of it was so outside my comfort zone, but I went, and it changed my life forever. I was able to meet women and ask important questions like, how do you talk to your kids about guns, and how do you store them in the home, and how do you get your carry permit, and why would you want to compete? What is all this? And it opened up a world to me. And it just kind of was a convergence of life, and it was really everything kind of fell together. And Juliana asked me to be her partner, and now we host Girls Night Out at the range at more than 265 ranges across the country, so that ladies can come and have that experience and ask those questions and be part of our community and open their eyes to all the things firearms that they never knew. There's a world out there that they don't know exists.
That is amazing to me that in 11 years you guys have built one of the largest women's shooting organizations across the country, created chapters, and empowered education. That is just amazing.
Yeah, we touch about 20 to 30,000 women come through our doors for training each year. And we have over 7,100 card-carrying members of A Girl and a Gun, which makes me really proud because these are women who have invested in their time, talent, and treasure to commit to training, to invest in themselves and in their time, invest in their gear, invest in valuable training. They're willing to put in the work to be their family's first responder, or to be that competitive shooter, or to take it to the next level. And I love that we have a member roadmap that meets everybody where they are on their journey, and we kind of guide them through the process, because you don't know what you don't know. So they can come to A Girl and a Gun and say, this is something I think I want to learn, and maybe for self-defense or home defense. But then we show them how much fun shooting can be, and we open up all the possibilities, and the next thing you know, there's three gunners, and they're shooting precision rifle, and they're breaking clays, and they're doing all of it. So it's really fun to be a part of their journeys.
Well, and you break it down in such a manner that it's not intimidating. It's like, here, take this baby step, try this, take this baby step. Would you, are you interested in this? And you meet them where they stand. You don't force them to meet you where you stand.
Yeah, well, that's all about it. Everybody has a different goal. Some people just want self-defense. They just want concealed carry, or they just want home defense. Many women come to us because their husbands are in law enforcement, so firearms are around, or maybe they're a significant other is deployed, or has a firearm for their job, and they just want to not be scared. So wherever they are in the process, and I've been really lucky that I have women approach me that are probably would be considered anti-gun themselves. They are not interested in becoming gun owners, but they also recognize that their children live in the world we live, and they want to be able to use the right terminology and naming conventions, nomenclature, to be able to have those conversations with their children, knowing if their children goes to a home that has firearms, how to behave, how to act. The situation happens at school, how to behave, how to act. So people want that gun safety, regardless on their personal journey. It's more about knowing that we're a judgment-free zone where they can come and ask those questions.
And then they can learn, so then they can pass that down, whatever that is, and to have the correct terminology, the correct words, because right now, I mean, it is so scary with the copycat, the spot where society has gotten us in some of our schools, where they think that violence is the answer. And you're so petrified for your children.
Actually, that day was yesterday. There was a rumor going around social media that it was Texas School Shoot-Up Day, and that was all over social media. My son actually texted me from our local high school, and he said that his class normally has 25 students. He said that he was one of 13 kids sitting in there because everyone else went home. And that was a hard text. I had to tell him, keep your head on a swivel, pay attention, know your exits, all of those things that we've talked about. But it's terrifying. And so, of course, me being the mom I am, I made sure that he always has a tourniquet and a Israeli bandage and a chest seal in his backpack with a ballistic plate, because at the end of the day, it's about giving him the tools and knowledge to come home to me. So he has the gear he can carry at school. But I also reached out to friends of mine that are in law enforcement, and just to make sure it was on their radar. I said, I'm sure you guys have a handle on this, but I would regret forever if I didn't mention it. And they were on top of it. They said it was completely un uh, it was it was a just a rumors going around, and they were on
Mm-hmm.
top of it, which made me feel better, and I was able to assure my son. But it's definitely a scary time that we live in, knowing that these kids have copycats, or that they have this, I don't know if they're going to have a pact to do something crazy, or if this is just a social media rumor mill. But it's definitely scary, and
Mm-hmm.
you can't live in fear either, though. I can't just have my son stay home and be homeschooled forever. He's got to face the world, and he's got to be equipped with knowledge. He's got to, just know his exits. He's got to be safe. And having those conversations is a really important thing to have, an age appropriate conversation with your kids, to make sure that they have the knowledge and tools to come home at the end of the day.
Right. Recently, a girlfriend contacted me, and she said she's like, I'm out looking at product so that I can equip my kids, and I'm looking at hoodies that are bulletproof. I'm looking at backpacks. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at that. What advice, what guidance do you have? And so we walk through all the scenarios that her kids can do, where they can have their backpacks, all of those kinds of things, and really focused on the having the conversation with your kids about what's going on, and what they see, what they know, what to do, and giving them, as Alice active shooter stuff, giving them the permission to break the rules if they need to. If something happens, get out and then call me, call you, call someone, and we'll back you up. It was that kind of a conversation. So what kind of conversation do you have with your kids?
Well, I have a twofold. My son that's in high school, I have a conversation with him of know your exits. Don't dismiss something as someone's dropping books. If it sounds like a gunshot, you've spent time at the range. You know what it sounds like. Don't dismiss it. Act quickly. He knows run, hide, fight. He's equipped with medical supplies in his backpack. Know your exits, those kinds of things. But also, our kids are on their thumb is on the pulse of that rumor mill. They know who the kids are. They know what kids are saying. So being able to have a conversation with your kid about it, and to make sure that your school district has a reporting process, is really important. So that's how I am in the high school, is making sure that I kind of know what's going on in my son's world, and that he's equipped with the tools and knowledge to be able to make those decisions for himself. On the flip side, my daughter is disabled and she's in middle school, so she's not able to make some of those decisions on her own. So I've spoken with the school about it to make sure that she has um, evacuation routes, and that she knows how to get to them from every location, and that teachers know how to assist her in those situations. She also has medical supplies in her backpack. And in fact, both of my kids are going with me on next Friday, to become recertified in Stop the Bleed. So they'll have additional medical training. It's always good to have a refresher. And yesterday was a day when I thought, it's time for us to go back and have that conversation again. I can I can host that conversation with them, but having that presented by a professional and
Mm-hmm.
giving them some hands-on tools with the mannequins and the dummies and stuff just gives them me a little more reassurance, and them a little more confidence with the medical side of things. And I share medical supplies because of a sport accident or a car accident,
Mm-hmm.
or that they don't need to be scared in their life, but they do need to know how to use them and make good decisions. So I think that's part of it, is just making age appropriate decisions for your kids, and making sure that you've looped teachers in where appropriate.
Well, and I think that your point about it not always just being about a gunshot wound. First responders and first aid responders, there are so many different tools that are in the Stop the Bleed that can be used just in your everyday world, everyday life. And so that knowledge is never wasted.
Agree. And I'm sorry, Amanda, if you hear my dog chewing on her bone, if you hear this gnawing noise, I'm sorry.
I'm
This
not
is real life, everyone. Um,
not I'm
she
not
has to
getting
bring her
that,
bone
but
in like
the
right
the
now. Okay, good. I'm glad.
a couple shows ago, Lori Blackwell out of Chicago or out of Illinois, her dog came and sat under the chair and then thumped his tail or his leg or something to the point where she was like, "This dog." But
Yeah,
that's
I
our
keep
world.
trying to nudge her, but she's yeah, she's committed to that bone right now. So
There you
that's what
go.
everybody gets.
That is
Um,
it. So I see you on social media, you are taking training, but you teach all these women. So why are you going for training? You're the expert. So why are you going for training? So fill us in.
Well, I'm definitely not the expert, but I do consider myself on the A Girl in the Gun member roadmap, and I am just helping lead the way. So I'm showing ladies different opportunities for training that they may not know exist. Some of them are super fun and recreational, and like sporting clays. And I took a sniper class last summer, and I had so much fun with it that we're offering a Girl in the Gun sniper class this year. It'll be a Girl in the Gun branded, so it's just for women, and I think it's really exciting because I haven't seen anything like this in the industry that's fieldcraft and riflecraft, the basis of camouflage and
Hmm.
movement and alternate positions using precision rifle. I haven't seen that specifically for women yet. So I'm really excited to offer that. Those are things that I just found fascinating and I just wanted to learn them. And so I took a class and I thought, hey, other women want to know this too. Let's host this event. So I'm really excited about that. It's coming up next summer. And yeah, I'm just taking additional classes, instructor level classes that I'm bringing other ladies with me so that they can be certified to get curriculum to take it back to their communities.
Well,
And then,
you just completed USCCA, right?
yeah, I took 14 women up to Wisconsin to become USCCA certified instructors. It's just giving them additional curriculum that they can use for their personal instructor business.
Hmm.
We have so many new women coming into the gun community and new shooters in general, men and women. But by having this curriculum and having a vast array of different types of curriculum, that just gives these instructors industry best practices, good information that they can turn around and present this material that's been vetted. They don't have to spend their time recreating the wheel.
Hmm.
They can just plug into some of these really great instructor programs. And so I'll be taking a range master class. Of course, range master instructor program has always been great. I just haven't taken it yet, so I'll be taking that in a few months. USCCA has a great curriculum, and there's just a lot of these instructor level development programs that are available. And I'm really great that we have a cadre of a Girl in the Gun instructors that are willing to step up and continue their training to get this material too. And then,
Hmm.
yeah, this past weekend I took a ShivWorks class. That was really crazy because that was I might have been past my age window to take this class. I think maybe 20 years younger. I would have been a little scrappier, but it was an amazing material. You know, so much knowledge. Um, that I can use to protect my life and my children. And yeah, so that's information. So I just like going to these other classes, getting this material, pointing people in the right direction for quality, reputable training. There's a lot of training out there that's not great. So when I can see training and know that this is, I love the way that the material's presented. These instructors are very humble. They don't have to spend the first 30 minutes running through their credentials and giving you their whole resume. They just jump into it because their reputation precedes them. And as you go along, just these nuggets of wow come out. And those are the ones that I really want to highlight and really direct a lot more people to go to, those more students to go to them.
Well, I think it's great that you train and you continue to train. I mean, for me personally, I like to at least take one training class a year so that I can just keep honing those skills, keep current with things that are happening, and I like it when I hear and see other instructors doing the same thing because I don't. I think that you can get stale.
Absolutely. And the material, I mean, the basics of marksmanship kind of stay the same, but there are definite trends. And now with the technology development, the red dot sights, there's so many trends in the industry that it's nice to get that experience on. And I'm really fortunate that I have the coolest friends and and go to the coolest places, and so I'm really lucky that I get to have the best training.
So tell us so what's coming up that is big for a girl and a gun? I mean, you guys do conference and your conference sells out. I mean, like within hours, does it not? What else is going on?
Yeah, so a conference is in April. It's our national conference. This will be our 10th national conference. And we actually, because of the demand, we opened up 100 extra spots this year, and the whole conference sold out 550 spots in 46 hours. That was pretty crazy. So, just again, it goes to the instruction that we offer and the classes that we offer, and ladies that are hungry for training. And I'm really, really excited to offer it to them. And then for our members and leaders, we have a new certification. So we already have a Girl in the Gun certified trainers, a Girl in the Gun certified instructors, and now we're offering a Girl in the Gun certified range safety officers. So this will be for our members who want to help out as RSOs. You know, on the line, it's always good to have more eyeballs on the line and ensuring everyone's safety, especially when we have so many new shooters. So we've developed our curriculum to kind of piggyback on the USCCA and the NRA certified certification programs they have. This one kind of just adds another element to our type of events with women. It's a pretty casual event, so we want to make sure that while it's fun and while there's a lot of new shooters, we have really high standards of safety. And so this kind of just piggybacks on that to reinforce those procedures that we have in place at our events. So now ladies can become certified, a Girl in the Gun certified range safety officers. And then, like I said, we have our sniper school coming up. We have so many getaways. We have a USCCA getaway. We have our Glock getaways. We've had nearly 200 women come with us to Glock to become certified armorers and operators. So it's really fun to see, you know, I think 10 years ago, we thought the only people armorers were guys. Guys were always armorers. And now we
Hmm.
have 200 a Girl in a Gun certified Glock armorers. And it's so empowering to have these women break down the firing systems to understand, to be able to speak, you know, articulately about the safety mechanisms and all of the systems and the way it works together. There's nothing better than having an instructor that can, you know, field strip the firearm and show you all of the parts and pieces right there. It just lends to the credibility of our program and just how smart and how capable our instructors are. So I love that program. That's always really fun. Let me see, what else do we have going on? I'm looking at, I just put out a blog article today, so I'm cheating by looking at it.
Okay.
Um, we have our shooting journal. So our shooting journal is kind of our member roadmap, and that's really what we base almost everything on. Do I have a journal sitting here? No. But our shooting journal is a perk of membership, and members can download it or they can buy a printed version. But we're expanding it this year with a whole safety section that we've worked with Sarah Albrecht from Hold My Guns. And so we're really leading the conversation in suicide prevention in the firearms community. You know, it's been kind of brought to our attention that people are hesitant to have this conversation, and it's so important. And I'm not afraid to go talk to school administrators about my kids' safety. I'm not going to be afraid to talk to women about their mental health and safety also.
Hmm.
We have to be able to have these difficult conversations. And Sarah's created a safety plan that people can make their own safety plan. So we're rolling that out in our shooting journal, and I'm really excited about bringing more awareness to that topic and to give people just more language on how to speak about it. And that's a really exciting initiative that we're taking for 2022.
I think that's amazing because, I mean, if gun owners don't take that seriously, it's like it's a piece that we can get behind so much and to be helpful. But you have to talk about it.
It's really important because gun owners understand the context of guns, and we understand the nature of how the firearms are used and how someone might interact with their firearm. If you're an everyday carrier, having your firearm on you is not a red flag. It's not anything to be concerned about. It's just your normal daily routine. It's your habit. It's your safety plan. But if someone is suddenly acting in a different way than they normally do, we can recognize that and we can understand that that might be out of the norm of this person's character, out of the norm
Hmm.
of our community. For example, if someone is having concerns and they mention this to their doctor, the doctor may say, well, get rid of all the firearms in their home, not understanding the context of, well, maybe this old heirloom hunting rifle is not a trigger. It's not an issue. It's not, something to freak out about. It's understanding, as gun owners, we understand the context of these conversations. We understand the lifestyle that we all have, and we're also able to recognize when someone strays from their normal baseline behaviors. So just understanding that from the very beginning, we can begin building on that with safety plans and understanding each other and offering compassion and instead of judgment. We don't have to freak out and be shameful. We can actually have honest conversations from a gun owner to a gun owner. And I'm really excited about this program because I think it's going to save lives.
It sounds like it. I mean, in just having that conversation, is people are hesitant to have that conversation, but it is so critical and so important to open that door, to listen, to speak, to interact.
Yeah. And a lot of times people may just not know where to turn. And so that's another layer that we're going to add. Sarah's actually going to be teaching to our leadership team and our instructors on how to recognize behavior at the range that is a concern and how to direct them towards professional help, because we are not the professionals for that. That is not our lane. We teach the safe use and provision of firearms, and someone who makes maybe isn't ready for that step needs to be referred to the right person. And so she's working with our community to make sure that our instructors and safety officers know who to send that to, how to address those situations with respect and with compassion, but also how to help make sure these people get help.
They get help. They stay safe. The other people around them stay safe, and that's really the critical portion, is safety as it applies to community, I guess.
Yeah, and because the gun owners in general are so supportive, we're all part of each other's lives. We see each other through these podcasts. We interact in classes. We go to matches together. We might shoot IDPA or ASI or USPSA or three gun together. We see each other all the time, and so the firearms community is a really supportive community. We're a really loving and and generous community. And so it makes sense that if we recognize behavior, we don't want to just shut someone out of that community. We want to use the community to direct them towards a safe place to get help if they need it. And so I'm really excited about this program. I think it's going to be really valuable. And that's just one of the things we do for safety. There's so many things, from the 4 rules of gun safety that we preach all the time, all the way to safe pregnancies for women. Those are concerns, lead exposure during pregnancy or nursing. We have a lot of different safety plans and safety discussions that we have in terms of, gun cleaning and how to stay safe there, and eyes and ears, hearing protection and eye protection. So it's just another layer of safety that we have conversations with, and it just makes our community even stronger.
That's amazing. I am so impressed with you and with Juliana and what you guys have put together for the DC for A Girl and a Gun. And then you also spend time with the DC Project. And
Yes.
so tell folks about your interaction with the DC Project.
Well, I was first introduced to the DC Project because I am grateful and honored that I know women across the country. So I have chapters, A Girl and a Gun chapters in every country, in every state. So when Diana Muller had the idea for the DC Project, she reached out to Juliana and me, and she's like, "Can you help introduce me to women across the country?" And I jumped in, both feet into the deep end, and I've served on her advisory board. I've served as the state delegate for Texas. I've served as the regional director, lots of different roles. And it's just something I really believe in, is going to Congress and sharing my story with them, because so often the voices that are the loudest are the ones that oppose firearms. And many of our legislators think that all moms agree with them. So it's important that my legislators hear my voice. And I tell members of Congress that the moms that make demands to take our rights don't speak for moms like me. And it's so important that they hear my voice as a constituent, that they know the issues that are important to me. And so I just encourage everyone to just have those conversations with their legislators, get involved with the DC Project, meet other women in your community. And the December 15th is coming up, which is the 2A day, the ratification of the Second Amendment. So we're actually meeting here at the state capitol for a get together on the Capitol grounds to celebrate the Second Amendment.
I didn't know that 12/15 was 2A day.
It is.
Wow. How
Yep.
did I how
We're
did I
meeting at
not
the
know
Texas.
that?
We're meeting at the Texas Capitol. Amanda, come on down.
It's just a few miles away from where I'm at, but okay. That is amazing. So you're inviting the Texas DC Project girls, the Texas A Girl and a Gun girls to go and do that. That is great.
Yeah, so the Texas delegate or the Texas state director now is Carrie Grayson, and
Hmm.
she's putting it all together. So I'm just going to go and be a lucky participant and get together with women on the Capitol grounds and share our Teal for 2A mission and message with everybody there. I'm really excited. Since I live in Austin, I'm excited to bring other girls from the Lone Star State here to town and give them a tour of our Capitol so that they can really understand the legislative process here.
That is neat. So when you got involved, did you understand the legislative process as when you first started playing with the DC Project?
Well, I did only because I was always kind of a government nerd before. I was always very active in politics. I actually majored in political science. I double majored in political science and criminal justice with a pre-law concentration, and so I was at the Capitol quite a bit. I had an internship for one of the committees there, one of the chairs of the committees, and so I know the Capitol and I know the legislative process in Texas, which is a little bit quirky. The way we do things is a little bit different down here, but I did have that experience just from my political activism before
Hmm.
and all through college. So I've it's been a little surprising to me how most people don't have that civics background because it's something that just came naturally to me because I was always very passionate about it. So I love sharing it with people and helping them understand the different layers of government, how it works here on the state level and how it works in DC, and kind of it just makes us have to do double the work because it's two different worlds. And I love getting people off the sidelines and having these conversations so that they can talk to their legislators too.
Well, it's really I learned everything that I knew when I started with DC Project on Schoolhouse Rock. I'm just a bill. I'm only a bill sitting here on Capitol
Yep.
Hill, right? I mean, and that was it. And then one day it was like, okay, so how does this work? And then it was senators and congressmen and state reps and state senators. And I mean, to me, it was confusing clear down to I'm talking to my state representative and I was like, so what do I call you? Are you a congressperson? Are you? And she's like, no, it's a state representative. We don't have state Congress. We have Congress, right? And, and so I think people are hesitant to even approach a lot of their elected representatives because they just don't know the structure of how it's all put together. And they don't want to seem silly or strange or uninformed or stupid.
Well, it's definitely different than you see on the news. And I remember my friend used to say that talking politics with me was like watching a behind the scenes movie, and it completely ruined the plot of the movie because had too much realism. She didn't want to hear how the process really works. You want to hear
Mm-hmm.
that it's magical and everyone works together and it's all perfect. But the reality is messy and it takes a long time. And especially here in Texas, a docket call can be for 10 a.m. and that you may not start hearing testimony until 11 o'clock at night. It really depends on the chair of the committee. So you have to just know how it works. You have to know the process. And we're really lucky here that we have a lot of organizations that really keep their finger on the pulse of what's going on. And so
Mm-hmm.
by being able to be a part of all these different little groups, I can put a full picture together and then relay that to the women at the DC Project and help them jump into these conversations that are already going on. Again, it's not reinventing the wheel. It's knowing every state has different groups that are involved in that process.
Mm-hmm.
It's just tapping in and making sure that the women's voice is being heard. And that's, for me, that's part of it. Of course, there's probably a lot of people watching that are dads and men watching. But for me, just making sure that the mom's voice is not marginalized on the other side, that they don't take ownership of the mom's voice. I'm a mom and they cannot have my voice. So when we talk about moms demand action and all of that, I need to make sure that they haven't marginalized and taken over my voice. So that's why I feel like I have to speak louder to say that moms that make these demands don't speak for moms like me. And I'm sure dads can say the same thing, and gun owners too, of all demographics. And
Mm-hmm.
it's just important that we go down to the Capitol and that we're there when they're having these hearings so that we can all be visibly part of the conversation. The ones who show up are the ones who make a difference.
Oh, and that makes so much sense. So, advice. Do you have any advice for somebody who wants to just kind of start to get involved?
Yeah, well, if you want to get involved with the DC Project, the best thing to do is to go to dcproject.info and then put in your information to get on our mailing list. And if whatever state you're a part of, if you're here in Texas, Carrie Grayson will reach out to you. If you're in Ohio, Amanda's team will reach out to you. So it's just a matter of getting on that list so that we can start looping you in and get you in the right groups to have that information. And then staying in touch with your state rifle association, different political action committees that are involved in your state. Every state's a little bit different, but usually there's some kind of advocacy group there. There's going to be groups that are passionate about the Second Amendment, and it's good to plug into them.
Mm-hmm. And it's good to kind of do some research because, as you had said earlier in the conversation, there are really good trainers and there are not so good trainers. The same thing with organizations, because it's created by somebody and you have to understand what their mission was and what their cause was for the creation of it, and find out if it is a place for you or not. But don't just say, oh, they said Second Amendment, so this has got to be it. You've got to do a little bit of homework.
That's a really good point. We have a lot of activism groups here that are a little more uh, radical than I would be a part of. I don't mind being on their mailing list and to see the things that they're talking about, but I don't necessarily want to jump in with them and be associated with them. So it is knowing kind of your culture of your
Mm-hmm.
advocacy and making sure that you find that organization that is the right fit. Um, that's definitely good advice. But I mean, getting their information is always valuable. I can see
Mm-hmm.
what pieces of legislation they're interested in and that they're trying to push through, and different methods that they're using. You know, they lobby different legislators and they have conversations with different legislators, and so it's kind of interesting to see how it all comes together. Um, and I just like having my voice. I remember one time I went to a meeting and they told us all to dress Western. They said you have to dress like Texans because then they'll put us on the news if we're all dressed Western. And I just said, I'm going to dress how I normally dress because that's who I am, and I want people to see who I am. I don't want to be a caricature and walk in like a whole somebody I'm not. I think that to be authentic and to go into my legislators and say this is me and this is why it's important and how you can relate to me as a mom, as a business owner, as a professional. I'd rather have that authentic conversation than try and play a part. I don't know that that really helps the conversation.
I agree with you, but when you come dressed like you, then you are dressed like a Texan because you're a Texan. So no matter what, you meet the definition.
Right? Yeah, but I'm not going to go in with my hat, my big old belt buckle. That's just not me. Maybe it was me in high school, but it's not me anymore.
There you go. Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. Ohio doesn't have a claim to fame of a look that screams Ohio.
You're gonna have to come up with one. You're gonna have to make the Ohio caricature. That's
I know.
awesome.
What would it be? I mean, we're the home of the Football Hall of Fame, and God forbid, or the home of the Rock
Rock
and
and
Roll
Roll
Hall
Hall
of
of Fame.
Fame. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So how would
We'll
that
have to
be?
work on that. Yeah, we'll come up with something.
Exactly, exactly. So, you were at the leadership summit for the DC Project and got to see gals from across the country. I mean, the DC Project's done in the era of the pandemic and COVID and the lockdowns, and you couldn't go to Washington DC. real energy and effort was focused on growing the state organizations. So what was the I, on the other hand, had well, I partook in the pandemic, so I didn't at that
We
at that
missed
moment.
you. Yeah, we missed you. You were
So
there with us in spirit.
right, but I wasn't there in actuality. It wasn't good. We'll just say. But what was the energy? What was the drive? What was the thought process behind some of the gals who came to this? Because to them, they don't know anything except for what they were given by their regionals, and then just what they got at the summit.
There were so many, I think, empowering, is that the right word? These girls, like, I think, like, brain explosions, like light bulbs galore. They were so excited. They wanted to make a difference. They want to make a difference. They want to talk to the legislators. They just don't always know how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
So that was what a lot of the things that we focused on was how to have these conversations, how to pick up the phone and book the meeting, how to go down to your Capitol and sit down there with them. We role played different conversations and how that goes. And they left with so much knowledge and so much understanding, so much guidance that they can actually blaze this trail now in their states. A lot of them don't know anybody on the ground, and they're starting to get plugged into
Mm-hmm.
those local groups that I talked about, and they're starting to learn how the process works in their state, which is different than how it works in mine or yours.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of learning involved and a lot of networking involved, and so a lot of times they just don't know the how. And to answer those questions when they're asked, why are you doing this? Why do you want to talk to somebody? Why guns? And so we were able to role play that out and give them their elevator speeches so that they can quickly and effectively tell somebody and convey what they're trying to say. And just those little nuggets, knowing that they're not alone in their confusion,
Mm-hmm.
that not everybody understands government, and the process, knowing that they were with all these other women who were equally as passionate, but equally kind of hitting roadblocks. Now we kind of just blew all those roadblocks down for them, and they went home on fire. And that was so exciting to see. I'm really just optimistic about the future of the Second Amendment with these women, these moms that are going to go home and raise the next generation on these incredible values. And now they're actively working. And like I said, we're here in Texas. We're fixing to have a Capitol Day, and just that visual for people to see is going to go a long way to letting other people know, hey, we're here and we're making a difference and we're using our voices. And I think it's really exciting to see what comes down the pipe in all of these other states. We're gonna definitely take over America in the legislative process and make more friendly to a legislation as a result. Hopefully they'll run for office someday now that they understand the process. That would be really great.
That would be. I mean, we're starting to see some of our gals running for office.
Mm-hmm.
And so some are running for office, some are running to kind of man the office, to be involved on the backside. Because in politics, it's not just the people who are running for office or hold office. It's the central committees, it's the county chairman, it's the people who are on the board of elections. It's a whole machine that's out there that requires volunteers and people who care to get involved and to make contact there and to keep that active and engaged. And so I'm really looking forward to our girls doing that.
Agree. I completely agree. It's really exciting to see them having these conversations and to know what their options are. It kind of goes back to that you don't know what you don't know. And
Mm-hmm.
then once you are exposed, like the doors are opened, now you can work on the state level, the local level, the national level. Do you want to be involved in your party or in your committee or in your advocacy group? Or, I mean, there's so many different roles, and a lot of them didn't even know that these people were working so hard behind the scenes, and now they're able to jump in and help them. So it's really exciting. I'm super excited to see where these ladies lead.
Yeah, I am. The things that I'm hearing from my region's gals about the ideas that they have and the things that they're doing or they want to do is is great. I mean, and it feels like I don't have kids, but it feels like I do have kids because they're all like, here, hold my hand while I do this, or I want to do this, or I've got this idea, or I've got this dream. And it's just so fun watching them walk before they run.
Yeah, I completely agree. The girls in my region are excited. They're having meetings, and they call me and tell me how the meeting went. They're doing podcasts and conversations like this online, and they're getting more people involved in the conversation. Just little things that they're doing that are, it's like throwing a pebble in a lake, and we're seeing the ripples go, and it's really, really great. I'm super proud of them.
Yeah, the other day there was a gal who said, "I'm going to be a guest on a podcast. Give me ideas, give me advice." And about five different people had different pieces of truly valuable advice that they were all like, "Here, do this, or don't do this, or share this, or you've got this. We're behind you. Tell us where we can tune in."
That thing is, and like I said, the gun community is usually the most generous people. They're enthusiastic, they're caring, they want to help you out. So if you reach out to people and ask their advice or ask for their help, they're going to be a part of your journey. So
Mm-hmm.
there's really nothing to lose, and we have everything to gain, especially when it comes to our rights and protecting our kids. We have everything to lose. So you have to stand up. You don't have anything to lose by getting involved, but you have everything to lose by not getting involved.
Oh, that makes so much sense. So, so what else is going on or is in the news that you, as a woman for gun rights, want to talk about?
I think for me, this week has been really the focus on school safety and having
Mm-hmm.
those conversations. We talked about why I'm always advocating for people that have their training schedule. So that'd be medical training in addition to firearms training, and just offering those opportunities for people. A lot of times they don't know where to look. So if people are looking for good quality training, they can go to my website, agirlinthegun.org, and find good training.
Mm-hmm.
Because for me, it all comes down to education. I dedicate my life to teaching women and families the safe and proficient use and storage of firearms so that we don't have accidents, so that there's not these
Mm-hmm.
negligence issues, and so that we can talk and save lives. At the end of the day, I want all of our families to be have all the tools in their toolbox that they choose to use for their own family self-defense plan. And that includes the medical training, the firearms training, maybe pepper spray, Kubotan, knife, whatever tool you decide to use, take a training class on it and be
Mm-hmm.
proficient. Personally, I have them all. I like them all. They're all good for different uses at different times. So take all the training you can, because all of our rights, the Second Amendment doesn't just say the right to keep firearms, it's the right to keep bear arms. So that is all of the ways that we can have self-defense. And especially as a woman, having the right to self-defense, a God-given constitutionally protected right to be able to defend myself, means everything to me. When I look at other countries, I think how fortunate we are to live here. Yes, there
Mm-hmm.
are ways that women um, could have probably more opportunities in terms of equal pay and all of those conversations. We can have that conversation for another day. But when it comes to our constitutionally protected right to defend ourselves, they're protected in the courts and in the Constitution. And we need to make sure that legislation is not presented to diminish those in any way. And I love that we have a whole army of gun owners with us in that conversation and in that standing up for us, for every woman and every person to have the greatest equalizer to protect themselves. I mean, what a gift.
It really is. Self-defense is a human right, and just giving it that kind of a tag so that you understand that you have the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, but you have to exist to be able to do that. So safety and personal defense portion is like one of the foundations and the footers to all of the other things that go on to being a human being in the United States.
I can't even imagine living in a country where I don't have that right, where I don't have
Mm-hmm.
the right to protect myself, where someone else can take my body or take my life without my consent, without my
Mm-hmm.
say. That is so terrifying to me that people choose to live that way, or that there are cultures that just create life that way. I find that incredibly terrifying, and I will do everything I can to make sure that myself, my fellow women friends, family, my daughter has every right to protect herself, and so that she can be the full and autonomous woman in her life. She can defend herself and doesn't need someone else to defend her.
So, are you concerned about any of the court cases that are going to the Supreme Court right now? Because they have New York State versus Bruin,
Mm-hmm.
and then there's a whole bunch of others that just kind of seem like they're queuing up and waiting in line. And so, what's your thought?
Well, I was actually quoted in two of the amicus briefs for the Bruin case, and I felt that to be a huge honor because this is now my name is stamped forever in history as being an advocate for the right to keep and bear arms and to carry arms, to bear them and to have them with you when you need them outside the home. So I'm really honored that I'm on two of those amicus briefs, and I'm eager to hear what the justices say. I listened to the live oral arguments, and I was, you know, had sweaty hands while I was listening to them, going, "Oh, I hope that was heard right," or "Oh, that was a good answer," cheering them on. And we'll just have to see how the justices rule on that. But I'm optimistic that the fact that the court gave standing, hopefully, will rule in our favor. It's that case is going to decide the future of our lifestyle. And so that's definitely something that we're watching and very concerned about. Of course, I want everyone to be able to have the right to keep and bear arms outside the home. Here in Texas, we just passed constitutional carry the last legislative session. Constitutional carry has been in effect since September. And just knowing that, I always tell people I would rather you, instead of giving your hard earned money to a state mandated training program and to all these taxes and fees and everything, use that money for training. So it's not a matter of course, I want everyone to get training, but I want someone to go to training because they want to. I want them to go because they love it. Because when do you ever gone to a state mandated training? And one, has it ever been really quality training? And two, has it ever been something you've been excited to go to? And every time I go to the range, it's something that I've invested in. I'm excited to learn it. I'm looking forward to learning it. And I come out of the other side really empowered and grateful that I spent that time and that money on it. So I'm hoping that everyone who is in Texas that wants access to firearms and wants access to training now has a fewer roadblocks in their way. So I'm hoping that Bruin won't set us back for sure.
Right. And for those who are listening, the interesting part about it is that when the Supreme Court heard the arguments, heard the testimony, it's then like 8 months later before we will hear their thoughts. It's a long process. It takes a lot of time for them to think. I mean, I guess that's it. So the research that they're trying to do and the stand that they take. And the thing I don't know is, do then the Supreme Court justices get together to talk about it? Or is everything now done virtually from one to the other after they're in the room while they hear the oral arguments?
No, I think that they've heard the oral arguments, they've asked their questions, they're going to go back to their clerks, and the clerks are going to draw up different discussions based on the decision that they want to add. So if they're going to be in favor of the decision or if they're going to write an opposition. So I think that a dissent. So I think that now it's up to the clerks to give them additional supporting information on cases and precedent and law and intent and all of the things that they were arguing before, and just making sure that it's this sliver. And that's the problem. Well, I say problem with the Supreme Court is that they look at this very narrow sliver of the law. It's either yes or no on this very little thing. And same thing with Heller, how it alluded to places outside the home, but it didn't ever explicitly grant it. So they stayed very narrow to, in the Heller decision, to the focus of that case. And I think we're going to see the same thing here. The only thing is that these ramifications take Heller to the next level. And it's just more, not only our right to keep arms at home, but our right to bear them outside the home, which for a woman, for anyone who is a trainer and expects people to be able to be in charge of their personal safety outside the home, unless you're in COVID and living in front of Zoom all the time, you're going to go outside the home and you need your tools to protect yourself, and you want to be able to protect yourself. And otherwise, what kind of society are we living in?
Well, yeah, there is. And that makes so much sense because it's like people are like, well, why do you need a gun? Or can't you get a gun when you need a gun? And it's like, do you put your seatbelt on when you know you're going to wreck, or or every time you drive?
Right. And it just becomes a certain time when and maybe this is just a different firearms journey. There's some people who want to have firearms at home, and then there's some people who carry at home, and there are some people who carry at home and outside the home. It really is your personal preference, and I'm not going to shame anybody for where you are on that journey. But having the option as a law-abiding American, as a responsibly armed citizen, I guess I should say it that way, as a responsibly armed citizen, for
Mm-hmm.
you to be able to have your firearm and choose to use it lawfully in the ways that protect you and your family. I mean, that's really what freedom is. If we, I used to think that we needed a society with no guns and then we'd all be safe. But really, what I wanted was a society with no bad guys because there's always going to be something. And as a woman, I'm going to have to need that equalizer. There's times I learned it really, really clearly in this class this last weekend when I was hands on with a lot of guys who were bigger and stronger than me, and I have the bruises to prove it. I'm not going to be able to overpower these guys. And so I need an equalizer. I need a way to keep them from grabbing me, throwing me to the ground, because statistically more women are pinned down, thrown to the ground. And I want that equalizer to be able to protect myself. My kids want me there at the end of the day. My husband wants me to come home at the end of the day. And I have the tools and training to be able to make that happen.
And that makes so much sense. That really makes so much sense. Because people are like, "Are you looking for a fight?" And it's like, "No, I'm not looking for a fight. And I want to be able to avoid the fight." And if I'm carrying a gun, it personally makes me more polite. It makes me apologize. It makes me step away. It makes me know the responsibility that I carry with me. And so, but I want to be able to go home. And so I need the tool to help me potentially because the bad guy is bigger, stronger, faster, and they decide that I'm going to be the victim. I'm not deciding
Right.
that.
Right. And it's about them not imposing their will on us. And it's about getting home. And I find that I'm just not maybe not nicer, but I'm less afraid. I'm not
Hmm.
less afraid of what if my car breaks down or what if I need to go in somewhere, or I'm just
Hmm.
less afraid that I can be victimized or that I could be cornered or thrown down. And it just gives me that peace of mind. And I said earlier that my daughter's disabled, and that makes me a greater target because I am with someone. She's blind, and the sexual assault rate of blind females is uh, staggering. Um, 80-90% crazy.
Yeah.
So when we're walking through a parking lot, um, I mean, for now she knows it's kind of a joke now. I'm like, we gotta hurry. We walk beeline, not a victim. We're sending out all this messaging to everyone. Do not pick
Hmm.
us. So we're not the ones you want to scrap with today.
Hmm.
But it is definitely teaching your kids to be aware and have that mindset because I don't want to look like an easy target. I want all of these men to look at us and be like, "Yep, not them." Like, "Oh, look, mom and little blind girl." "Oh, nope, not them." That's what I
Not
want
them.
them all to say.
Exactly. You want it to be the day that nothing happened. That is absolutely it. I, I
That's right.
I've never heard the statistics there, Robin. That is terrifying.
It is terrifying, and um, yeah, because and there's certain self-defense plans for the blind. There's a national program called One Touch Defense, which is if somebody comes to help you, you don't really know if they're friend or foe until they put hands on you. They might be wanting to guide you. Might be wanting to assist you. You don't really know who they are.
Hmm.
And for you and me, that's 21 feet too soon. That's 21 feet too close.
Hmm.
I want someone to be 21 feet from me, or actually 30,
Yeah.
50 feet from me
Right.
before I decide their intentions. And it's just a different world in the world of the visually impaired. And so I definitely want my daughter to have situational awareness. Although she can't see, she can hear what's going on. She can have other senses to know her way, and she can definitely walk with a purpose. And she'll have tools in her toolbox too, so that she's not a victim.
Oh yeah. With you as her mom, she's got tools. She's got lots of tools. So we're at the end of the show. This has been amazing. So folks, check out A Girl and a Gun and look up Robyn Sandovol on social media because she writes, she blogs, she podcasts, she is all over the place talking about the things that she does and believes and advocates for. And you're truly going to be a follower of this amazing woman. So,
Thank you, Amanda, for having me on. Thank you for the opportunity to talk about all the things I'm passionate about. I hope that more women take responsibility for their personal safety and that they join us up at agirlandagun.org and that everyone goes to dcproject.info and gets involved in the conversation.
Okay, well, we'll see all y'all next week. Thanks for joining Women for Gun Rights.